Okay, let's do a small recap. From Istanbul to went to Troy, Troy to went to Ephesus, Ephesus went to Pamukkale, and now we are in Antalya. From Antalya, we are heading to Konya. This was a small recap of all the vlogs that we have done. The last thing we watched was this amphitheater, and now we are heading to a marble museum. It takes about 4 hours to reach from Antalya to Konya, but the best thing is that we kept stopping everywhere while we reached Konya, which made the journey not too stressful or irritating. And throughout the journey, these mountains were like my best friend. So we have finally reached Konya Museum. That's called Tile Museum. So on the outskirts, the first thing we did was where we went. So in Muslim culture, all these mosques are created into a place where they teach. There are a lot of. It's more like a school. They teach science. They teach history. They teach a lot of things. Exactly like astronomy. Do you see that ceiling? The top part was uncovered because they used to teach them how to read stars. And the tile museum basically is the tiles where they are actually written those history, the geography, the science, the maths, and they were teaching those kids. So people used to come, they used to send their kids there to learn more about world and knowledge, to gain all kind of knowledges, but they were carved in tiles, and that's something which is very beautiful and a must watch over there. If you go there, you'll see a lot of tiles written. They were broken because obviously it was very old, and this is how you see the picture up there. That's how it was found. So they picked it up from there, and you'll see that it's written in broken languages there. Even the coloring tiles were very beautiful. So it was restored in many ways, but this is how it shows that did knowledge did make a huge difference and had a huge importance in their life. And even in that century as well, they did put a lot of importance on it. While digging, they found a lot of stuff over there, even the crockery. And the crockery also had a lot of things in it. It is actually huge and a very knowledgeable place to be there to understand how they were in that time. And the one thing I loved about that place was the door. Such a beautiful door, so beautifully carved. There's another side to it as well, which was outside. So when they found something which was stone made or carved on stone, they kept it outside. After that, we headed to our next destination, and keep following us. So we headed to our next destination. This is the place we actually came Konya for, or this is what Konya is known for. One of the most beautiful place, which is Rumi's house. For a lot of people, Rumi is the person who actually led Sufism, the guy who introduced Sufism. And this is where we came because he was born here. When you enter the door as well, why do you think the door is short and people need to bow? Is to remind you that you need to be humble. So every time when you go in, you bow when you go in. And this is where Rumi lived. He came with his father when he was very young, and the father was the gardener. So he was there when he was a child, and later he became very famous for everything. This is where he lived. This is where his disciple lived and kept living for a very long time, and this is where they've kept his I'm not sure what's called in English, but it's called his morgue over there. But a lot of people come from a lot of place in the world who believed in him, who still follow him just to see his morgue. For them, it's one of the most biggest holy place. This was the entrance of that place. They didn't charge us anything, but when you go in, you have to wear a plastic on your shoes so that it doesn't spoil. And every morgue you see on the around you are the ones who were fighting for Rumi, who fought and who died in those fights, because even he was attacked a lot of time. To save him, they all gave his lives, and every single place you see, it's their mark which was kept before his, and this is his main shrine. This is Rumi's shrine, and if you see, a lot of people around it is praying in front of his shrine. They believed him in a lot. Even his poetry till date is being read, and if you see around it, it's full of all the ayats written from Quran just to bless him. And people come here to take pictures. They even come and see a lot of things which was written by him. The first book that was written by him was full of poetry, and he was so knowledgeable and so deep. They say that he was in love with his Allah, and then every single poetry he's written for him. His love was unbelievably too much for anyone to understand. His disciples are also known for this. This box is called that. They believe one of the holy box there. I don't know the authenticity of it, but they do believe that one of our Muslims, Prophet Muhammad's hair was in that box, so people do believe it. We went to the next place, which was next to the shrine, where they've kept all these statues to show how the disciples used to live there and how they used to pray. So that's where you can see the kitchen could have been, and this is where they used to learn how to pray, learn how to do Sufism. Do you see the clothes? That's how they used to wear clothes. And this is where they used to sit for their meeting. This is how they used to fold their hands and meet the elderly, and they were trying to show and portray that how Sufism used to work. The whole house was huge. And do you see that green tower? That's where his shrine is, and that's where the symbol of shrine is. There's a fountain in between where you can actually come wash your leg and feet for wuzu, because people even used to pray over there. The whole place was beautiful, so nice. Even the souvenir shop I was in love with because it was very pretty. Because of the winter, the days were shorter and it was colder as well. In the evening, it used to get really cold, and that's why we used an entire day to spend in Konya, and then we headed to a hotel. In the evening, we went for our dinner, and next day we did our breakfast. So this is a hotel for tonight. The hotel was called Man Konya, one of the five-star hotels over there. Let's head to our room. The hotel also had some Sufi statues. That much it is famous in that particular city. The entire hotel had a lot of Christmas decoration, and let's go to a hotel. And my key doesn't work. Great. So next day we headed for Cappadocia, but on the way we stopped for this Caravanserai. Now what is Caravanserai? In 13th century, there was this place that was built from one between some destination. So when people are traveling from one destination to another, they would stop by to rest, to feed their camel, to give them some rest, and they would rest as well and leave the next day to continue their journey. When you head in, you'll see a whole area where you can place your camels over there. There was a spot where there used to be a fireplace, so this is like a fireplace. And then on the left hand side, you'll see even like a restaurants and rooms where people used to sleep. Of course, they were charged for this. There were people who used to charge them very minimum amount according to that time, but that's where people used to rest and stay. Do you see this beautiful gate in the middle of the Caravanserai was actually the place where camel used to be placed or tied. But when you go in there, you're going to be so shocked looking at it because now people use it for museums. So when we went there, there was a carpet museum going on, and they were using it for displaying those ancient, beautiful carpets. We saw in the previous log that Turkey is famous for it. When we head in there, we saw this huge big ceilings, beautiful carvings. If you see the way it was built, the stone were interlocked, and that's why for centuries and centuries it stayed after so many weather changes as well. You can see those blocks over there. They are not aligned, they are kept between each other just to lock it. So the lock system was even discovered in 13th century, but it was so pretty and beautiful. I could not believe that it was used to park camels over there. After that beautiful caravanserai, we headed to our next destination called Saratli, the underground city. It's located on the ancient Silk Road, and it's a city which was underground. Why was it underground? Why they hid it over there? It has an entire history there. So let's go to our next destination. So here's the story behind the underground city. Now, Saratli was the city which was from either of the side occupied by different civilizations. And every time Saratli would get attacked, the only way to survive or rescue was to build this underground city. Every time the attack used to happen, they would used to hide themselves in this underground city. They used to make sure there's enough food in there, and they built it in such a way that everyone could sit there and live there. Sometimes they used to live in there for three months. They would not see the sky or sun while they're in there, and would live in there for a very long time. Some places in the city had enough space to only for one person to walk. It was that congested and tiny. Imagine hundreds and hundreds of people living in there for months. They thought of everything when they built it. This is how they used to get their oxygen. They built that too. And to call someone when if they are on a different floor is also how it was used as well. So it was a very planned and very thoughtful city that was built. Even when they built the city, they built it so smartly that they made sure that if you're not aware of where to go, people can get confused. Even now, they've actually put some arrows there so they know where to go. Otherwise, you can actually get lost in that city. So even if they find the place and they want to come and attack, the people would hide in such a way that they can never find the way out. Through a very tiny lane, we finally made it outside. It snowed that morning, so it snowed everywhere. It was beautiful and cold. And finally, after that, we headed to our next destination. So our next destination is Cappadocia, and that particular city is very famous in Turkey. Everyone who goes to Istanbul heads to Cappadocia for sure. This was one of the last second city that we went before we head back to Istanbul, only because we wanted to do the whole circle and then reach Cappadocia. Cappadocia is known for its hot air balloon. They say about 300 hot air balloons released together, and the view is amazing. Like you all can see outside, it was freezing, it was snowing. The hot air balloon for that day was cancelled. I was so sad that I came all the way to Turkey and I couldn't see one of the most famous thing. But it is what it is, so we couldn't do the hot air balloon. And now we are heading to Cappadocia. So before we went to a hotel, we stopped by into the main city center to have lunch. We have lunch in this particular cafe. This cafe is run by only women, and every day they make food for people who cannot afford food. So if you are there, please have it there. It's called Cafe Canelli, which Cadnelli. I've put the photo over there, and if you are heading there, for sure visit. Before we headed to a hotel, we went to another place called Karam, the open air museum, famous in Cappadocia. It was snowing when we reached there, so it was really freezing, but it was very pretty, like very beautiful. You can see all those caves from there, and entire city is like that. You can actually go in there, but because it was snowing, it was very slippery and dangerous, so we didn't head there. But do you see this valley? It's so beautiful. We even go to another valley which is going to be very pretty, so we'll show you in the next vlog. But after this, we'll be heading to our hotel, and I'm going to be stopping the vlog here. Wait to see the entire Cappadocia. So if you like the vlog, like, share and subscribe.